All right, welcome back to another episode of hashtag randomly with Ronnie Jr. That is me, randomly Ronnie Jr. Trying. Why am I saying my name the exact way that I don't enjoy other people to say it? It's always been, this is why people call me RJ sometimes. It's always been a lifelong thing where I feel like I have pretty good enunciation. And then sometimes when I say Ronnie, I guess because I don't know why, but people don't always, is it Ryan? Anyways, I said it where I wasn't overly enunciating and it made me mad off the top of this show. But that also might be because we're going to recap this wonderful television program that we've been watching for 10 years. Most of us have been watching for 10 years. Vanderpump Rules, which is now being named Scandival, et cetera, et cetera. But again, yes, randomly Ronnie Jr. Hello. I really didn't. Okay, here's the thing. I'm not a reunion person for the most part to begin with. Um, do you like the reunions? To me, it's reality TV, so we got to take it with a grain of salt to begin with. But I did not enjoy part one. So I really didn't come to the channel here, youtube.com/randomly Ronnie Jr. And of course, you could go to the hashtag, which is randomly with Ronnie Jr. And you see all of the stuff. I was counting it out the other day. There's like over 800 videos. Like I've been working. So go check it out. But I was gonna ask you, do you like reunions a lot? Like I understand there's some big moments, but there are those times where it feels like it is being stretched out in terms of the shows. You get all that wonderful television programming throughout 14 episodes or whatever it is that season, and then all of a sudden the reunion doesn't give you so much. Um, because this is, me speaking and giving my opinion, but also hit the comments and of course do all the things. I want to know, did you like the first reunion episode? Because after that finale for season 10 was so good and I loved it so much. Not even love is not the word, because you do got to think about like what each person went through. But it was good television. Yes. They're saying it's the best reality TV moment ever. I gotta say it wasn't. But that's a whole nother topic for a whole nother episode. But it was very good. And when we came from the finale to the first reunion episode, part one, in my opinion, it wasn't really giving. It really wasn't. I'll talk later here in the episode about what was lacking or what was overplayed. There's a good way to say it. What was overplayed, which, by the way, we all overplay. We play ourselves too. We all overplay certain things. There's excitement, there's adrenaline. So I also can't knock the situation. But if you were to ask me rating reunion of Vanderpump Rules season 10, the first one, part one, yeah, it wasn't the greatest. It wasn't even that good of television, to be honest with you. And of course, as always, the way it works these days is, you get a couple silly, and I've never laughed at a silly meme in my lifetime, or a silly GIF or what is a GIF, either of the two. I didn't like it, but that's not what this episode is about. This one was about saying, I actually thought part two had a lot. Um, I thought it had a lot. Now, do you think that the part two was better like I do? That's number one. Number two is, do you think that part two was a little bit better because this is what I did differently? And there was a little bit of chatter online about this. I try not to get too much of my opinions based on what we see on Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok. Like I know a lot of people do. You could hear it in their content, their recaps and stuff. Me, I do not. I don't care what a lot of people think. I only care what I think and what you think because we're watching together. But there was a lot of chatter online saying, hey, you should probably go check out the Peacock streaming version of these episodes, right? So Peacock, of course, it's funny how television has changed so much. The big show used to always be on the network, and they still premiere it, on the network on Bravo TV. Even Housewives of Miami went from Peacock streaming back to Bravo. So it's kind of like an upgrade. Yet most people don't even have cable anymore. Not most people, but a lot of people don't have cable. So streaming's actually better, I guess. And there's always that catch 22 in terms of how to basically distribute your content for the network as well. And so then on online last week, I think I had noticed that a lot of people were saying, "Oh wow, they're doing something different on the Peacock streaming platform," which I was like, "Well, what could they be doing differently?" Because for years and years and years, we'd watch all the Housewives on Bravo, and then we knew that when Peacock streaming opened up, we knew that all the shows were going to be there. So you'd go and you'd have a lazy Sunday, which I never really have a lazy Sunday, and I would like to have a lazy Sunday. But you have a lazy cleaning day, let's say like a spring cleaning, right? And you put on the old Housewives of New York. Like it was great, but it was Peacock streaming those same shows. So all the big moments had, bleep here, bleep there, bleep everywhere. No curse words were going to be had on Peacock streaming. Well, I guess this is the first of its kind, I guess, where Vanderpump Rules is all curse words. And it reminds me, oh my gosh, it reminds me. See, I was born in the 80s, right? Virgo of the 80s, there's just nothing better. But it reminds me of the era when music started really becoming good. The music was getting so good. And then all of a sudden, a lot of the words would have like curse words in them. So you'd get used to hearing that version of a song on the radio. That's all we had was the radio. And then you'd go buy the album, the CD. It was a CD at the time, at Sam Goody, Warehouse, Music Plus, all these places, and you would get the CD, and on the CD it would say explicit version. So you'd pop that CD in your giant CD. You had a giant CD, a portable CD player, right? Giant little portable CD player that we all took to high school and junior high. Yes, we did. And you'd pop it in, and you were so used to, or I was so used to hearing the songs on the radio where everything was they don't bleep them, but they there's an effect that they kind of edit the version of the song. Well, and all of a sudden you're hearing the song, you're like, oh, this is my 1994 favorite rap song. Okay, da 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 da. No rap song sounds like that, but you know what I'm saying. But you're humming the song. Oh, I like this. I like it. And then the curse words start coming, and you're like, oh my god! Like it feels even more connected. Now, I'm not somebody who loves, even when I watch like stand-up comedy, I don't need your cursing to be what makes your stuff good. I don't need that personally. But it's also when the cursing comes through, the passion comes through. And so with Vanderpump Rules and all of these things that are going on, the passion that they're now cursing, well, it wouldn't be now cursing. It would be that they're now unedited on Peacock streaming versus what we see on Bravo. That plays an impact on just how emotional this show is getting. I wanted to talk about a couple things before I really get into what did James say? This side of the room and then this side of the room. It's such a division. It's very chilling. I think my biggest moment, surprisingly, might have been Sheena. Um, Now I'm wondering, is that a bias? Because I've always liked Sheena. I've had conversations actually with my siblings about how we love Sheena, or I like Sheena. Sheena's likable. We love Sheena, but like Sheena has, I think she's even said in interviews and stuff, like she's not really that fighter type. You know what I mean? And in life, we learn that there's a lot of people, and I hate to always use this term, but like ignorance is bliss. Like some people are just, they let things roll off so easily. Sheena doesn't really, over the years, has really taken a toll. And so on this episode, I'm not saying I was sitting there, and I wasn't necessarily even saying that I was agreeing with everything she was saying to Tom, but I liked seeing that she hit a breaking point and there was a moment where she did have to stand for herself. Because again, Sheena has always been that character. She's been opposite of what like Stassi brought to the table. Stassi was in your face. Lala was in your face. Lala is a bit boring. Her commentary has never been interesting, never, not once. Pretty girl though, Lauren, pretty girl. Yeah, gorgeous girl for sure. But anyways, those were the particular personality traits of some of the other cast members, which is very reality TV, very loud, very rah rah rah. But Sheena has not ever been. So I don't know that I really thought Sheena had a really great performance on today's episode because A, she looked beautiful. B, because she's always been more reserved and had to sort of take things, and she really doesn't. I don't know if she's like, I don't know if the vibe is like protect your peace or whatever, but she just doesn't like to get into the mess. But this was something that was worthwhile. And I could tell, or we could tell, the viewers, we could tell that it was taking so much on her. Um, I still have some critique of Sheena and her actions, but these things were all happening in real time. A couple quick notes before I get into sort of how I was coming off of a viewpoint from episode one, which again, I didn't enjoy episode one. Therefore, I didn't come to this wonderful platform, youtube.com/randomlyRonnie Jr., and do an episode, but I really liked this one. So I'll talk a little bit about what was the off-putting moments from the first part of this reunion and what I think is developing and feeling really good for season 2 and 3. Not season 2 and 3, rather, episode or part 2 or 3, however you break it down. But before we do that, I just wanted to say, as we grow, because we're always growing, we're also on what do you call it, Twitch. So there we go. Get on the Twitch. If you do follow Twitch, there's actually going to be tons of more episodes on Twitch as we go. So is that what it's called, Twitch? Yeah, Twitch. You know what I like about Twitch? Off the jump, you could say, oh, I love this show, which of course we know you love this show. But on Twitch, you could like throw little donations or whatnot. So I think that's amazing because I'm putting in the work and I'm trying my best, etc., etc., etc. But before I talk about what was it about this episode, part one, that I wasn't really feeling, and what I really thought came together on this one, and where maybe even the show should go or grow, even those chilling interview moments with Raquel. And it's so funny because when she's being interviewed by Andy, she's still like smiling, like, and what is that? You know what I mean? Is it so pageantry, which was her whole world for so many years, that that's her nervous laugh. Her nervous laugh is that pageant smile. So even in the weeds of it, Andy's asking some pressing questions and she's still like, answering the question like you're watching what was it, Miss Congeniality, and what do you describe as the perfect date? April 26th. It's not too hot, it's not too cold. Like Raquel is still giving that type of answer, that type of energy, but we're talking about things that are quite serious. Now, if you are like me, you are on one side or the other, where you either double down and say like, I did what I did, like, I'm sorry, but I did what I did, or you run it back and you have tons of remorse, which I think she kind of did or tried to. But she was like in this fairy. I'd like to be in Raquel's fairy tale sometimes because I don't even know if she's realizing what is actually going to come towards her when she has to be around everybody, and how tough she's going to have to be. And I mean, maybe she does realize. Maybe the thing about Raquel, we've always said, maybe Raquel is smarter than us all. Maybe Raquel was like, you know what? James got with this new girl, and Allie is of course wonderful. I did a podcast broadcast little project with Allie a couple years ago.
But I do think at the end of the day, they have to just have a talk, and just the two of them, like not the other girls, just the two. Like Ronnie said, they both experienced grief, like they can talk about that. And also, like Ronnie said, Tinsley has always been herself, even though people may not like her. She's not pretending to be Leah or to be this person. This is just how she is, and she's a little more fragile than the other girls.
She was super sweet. Was on the phone with her once or twice. Very sweet girl. So it's really great to see her shine in this show. And I have nothing wrong with her in a quick relationship, because I do think that happens. But on the Raquel side, maybe a lot of the issues come from her being so like how you gonna move on from me that quickly? I'll show you. Like, I'm not saying like what she did with Tom was based on specifically James, but that could have been the initiation stages in her mind, because we never know what's going on in Raquel's mind, that like she felt so hurt that she's there was some type of, I'm going to create a moment of jealousy to him. If he can move on, so can I. And then you do get wrapped up into stuff. But anyways, I don't want to go into all that just yet. We of course have a word, because everyone who does a wonderful podcast has a word. So we'll take a quick moment, and then we'll get more into Raquel, and if she's playing the game or is she being played, we don't know. And I say that with the respect. Tom accidentally used the word mofo. I mean, did this happen for real? But let's talk about that argument as well. And then we have a couple people storming off stage. And then we have Sheena, who's good as gold in 2023. So we'll get into all that. But first, a quick word.
Well, hello there. Thank you for watching and supporting the show with my good friend, Randomly Ronnie Jr. Who the hell am I? Great question. My name is Mark Rodriguez with Mastermind Media, and I wanted to take just a moment of your time to let you know about all the other incredible things this guy, Randomly Ronnie Jr., has going on. But first, before we get into that, please comment, like, and subscribe. That is how he grows here on these channels. But one channel you probably don't know about is patreon.com/Randomly Ronnie Jr., where he's got a bunch more exclusive content. So please check that out. But speaking of YouTube, let's go back to YouTube for a second. He's got this hashtag randomly with Ronnie Jr. and it shows all of his stuff in his days in radio from back in the day, all the way up to present day, and his new interviews, podcasts, just videos across the board. So please check that out, because when you think about content creators, there's millions of content creators, but there's only one, Randomly Ronnie Jr. Let's get back into the show.
Oh, okay. Thank you, Mark. Wise words by Mark, a dear friend of mine, a creative consultant, actually, on this whole podcast YouTube journey that we are on. So the question, let's get right into it. We have to know, is this side of the room, I was going to say sans Lisa, because that's not exactly who James was speaking on, the lesser side. Let's break it down. So we're looking at Lisa. Now, Lisa, okay, I am an early watcher of this show. Are you? Did you start season 1? But I didn't really watch right away, okay? I was there at about season 2, but let me tell you why. There's always a why. I could not stand on Beverly Hills Housewives. To this day, people still act like it's the crown jewel. It is not. It is not. That is just a fact. This is factual information. It is not the crown jewel. It's just not. It's simply not. And everyone was like, "Oh, Beverly Hills, it's so good, it's so good, it's so good." And I think a lot of the viewpoints were because of the wealth, which is fine, but you still have to be, what is it? Compelling. You can't let the bells and whistles of the wealth, make it work for you. You just can't. So some people seem to like it. No. And one of the reasons I didn't enjoy it, the number one reason, was the first scene, the first episode, the first frame of Kyle was so boring. It was the most boring television you'd ever seen. You'd never seen anything that boring on reality TV. And I've been watching reality TV for years. You'd never seen anything as boring as Kyle. And right along that same vibe was Lisa Vanderpump. Not very interesting at all. Very, very, very slow. So you had 2 women on this show, Housewives of Beverly Hills, who weren't bringing it. And yes, of course, Lisa eventually did step away. But for so many years, those were the 2 that they were deeming, in terms of the network and I guess the fan base, as some type of intrigue. None of them were intriguing. So by the time you went to Vanderpump Rules, I was like, I don't really need to see a show that has Lisa Vanderpump, because she's not interesting. Really, Lisa needs to count her blessings, I suppose, all the time, because the cast themselves did it for a lot of people. It was very reminiscent of that, I guess, creative process that the Hills had. You see young people, navigating throughout their career to get here, to get there, to get everywhere, and that is fun to watch. So it took me a little bit, but like I said, I'll say that I spot watched season 1, but definitely was into loving it season 2. And at that time, I was actually living in New York, so watching that neighborhood, those streets, everything looking familiar, that aspiration of like, I want to be something bigger. I want to, what did Stassi say early on? She's like, most people come here and they just want to, or we have dreams and aspirations to be this, and this, all these really successful things. Whereas other people, did she say they were lame? Well, I don't know. It felt like she said they were lame, even if she didn't say that. Well, other people, they just aspire to be at Sir. And right there, you knew what you were getting. So the show was actually very good. So I've been watching it for a long time. Even, it was hard during the pandemic, I guess you would say. Television ways of programming, filming, it was very difficult, and the show was really dwindling. There was a time that the show itself was it's so weird, because I was talking actually about the difference between Summer House Reunion and Vanderpump Reunion. And I actually like Summer House Reunion because there's a lot more new information and there's a lot more perspectives Vanderpump, we are recycling quite a bit, and it's starting to dwindle. It's starting to get very tiring. Now, I'm not going to be completely rough on it because I am still watching, but you know, there was my point of bringing that up is right now I feel like Summer House is so like, no one's paying attention to Summer House, but it's still a really great show. I love the three newbies they brought in. And I feel like it's just one of those things where sometimes you're hot, sometimes you're not. And Vanderpump, it was not too long ago where it was really, really dwindling, to the point that when the Summer House started going into a Winter House spin-off type of thing, even the Southern Charm kids, cast members, they got to be a part of all of that to a degree. And yet Vanderpump was the only group that was kind of not involved. I think going forward, I think this next season that's going to come up of Winter House, I believe, well, Tom Schwartz, maybe Tom Sandoval was going to be there. But Tom Schwartz, I believe, was involved in it. But, there's been several Winter Houses that the Vanderpump Rules cast was not really involved, and so that's kind of an interesting thing as far as what's hot and what's not. Now, the way that it was played on episode one, part one rather, of the reunion, I thought like James and Lala were not funny whatsoever. And I thought they overplayed their hand a little bit, especially you can definitely jump and well, James's aggravation might be a little bit different than Lala's. James's aggravation is still an emotion that I will say is somewhat attached to that is his ex, and you don't necessarily even want her in the crowd. And now necessarily she's become, this big, puzzle piece to this Scandival situation. So his side of it I could see, but the problem with James is he doesn't speak, he yells. And yelling is always fine. There's no issue with yelling, but you've got to convey your point. So is there a part, and I guess maybe that's what that crying scene was supposed to indicate on the finale, that like he feels taken. The thing is, everyone's personalizing it, so I can't necessarily understand who really is getting the brunt of it. But James does have at least a little bit room to stand on in terms of that, because I don't know, like were him and Tom really friends? I mean, I remember, yes, that season going back, like he was trying to do music with Tom, and that was the way he was gonna weasel his way into the show. James is I'm giving a little bit of free, like a acceptance to how he could feel. But again, when you go too hard on this is episode 1, not 2, you just overplay it, and you're not really you had a chance to kind of lay back, let Tom sort of over talk and play himself. And Tom's always going to be the villain in this situation because he is the one who did the negative action. Even if you want to hate on Raquel is just the other person. It's definitely not good. You knew the situation, but you always, in a relationship, it's always you and your boo. That's who needs to be blamed. So Tom Sandoval is ultimately at the fault of all this for sure. But yeah, James could have a little bit of like, I was your friend, so I feel a way about you doing that, and specifically you doing that with my ex-girlfriend. But in life as well, like she broke up with him, right? She broke up with him on the last reunion. I feel like I don't have factual information from the last reunion because it was a snooze fest. Wasn't it a snooze last season? Oh, I can't believe that I got through Vanderpump Rules season 9, because it really was like the chapters were closing, the book was closed, and now we're over here and with all this new information. But James could have a little bit because he could be, sort of in his mind, betrayed or fed up with both of them. You were one of my good friends, and you were my ex. Last thing I wanted you to do was to be all in my orbit like this, and now I can't get you to go away, kind of a thing. And I can see that part of it. Lala, though, I don't really know what she's screaming about. Her actions have always been a certain way. She's never been entertaining. I'm gonna tell you what she lost me. She lost me when she lost me 10,000 times. She's never been interesting, never, not once. I'm so glad she's so lovable to people, and I'm so glad she's so beautiful, and I'm so glad she's got this wonderful child and everything. But like, interesting. I would love her to be more interesting. And it's been said by thousands and thousands and thousands of people. This is unfortunate because now we've learned more stuff. when she tried to initiate her podcast, it was so bad. And really, most people only enjoyed it at the beginning. This is context, please. This is in the beginning. They only enjoyed it when her ex was on a part of it. I don't even know if she does it anymore. It's just she has not made an impact on her sound bites. She's not made an impact on her confessionals. She's just not making an impact. So her getting in the middle of this business, what is it to you? You have nothing to do with it for the most part, you know. But to one could say, Ronnie, randomly, you have nothing to do with either. I'm just recapping the television program, so we'll let it live. She's got her own issues to deal with. I did watch one of the specials. I believe there's another one coming out on her ex, and it's good. There should be some elements and questions of should she be accountable for the things that where she turned a blind eye or something. I can't remember the way she worded it, but there's some growth in Lauren, and I think that is something. I think so little of her in terms of like entertainment. She's not very entertaining whatsoever. So I'll move right on. She's about she's about as entertaining as Katie. So Katie, got nothing on Katie. Because Katie hasn't brought entertainment this entire existence of the show. She's just not done it. She's not done it. And then her trying to get snippy with Schwartz. It's like, here's the problem. Tom Sandoval has always been this guy. Like, we've seen it. We've all seen it. And what I don't like is let the people who should be mad be mad. Let Ariana be mad. James, I said he could have his little things. But you other people, like the Katies, who are so uninteresting to watch, it's like, it feels Tom Sandoval made a little comment in this episode where like, oh, this is your get out of jail free card, and they're like, yes, it absolutely is. But the reality is it's not, though, because you're overshadowing it and you're not letting anything of accountability happen in terms of other elements. You're not allowing for explanation for a thing that he did do terribly. So you're rushing to this polarizing, I'm going to walk off stage moment, and it's not really doing anything for the show, in my opinion. You could have a different opinion. In my opinion, that's basically what. Give me 1 second. That's basically what it looks like. So Katie's boring. Imagine going to a Katie sandwich shop. Would that ever work successfully? I kind of don't think so. And then the last thing is two more things. It was out of line, although I don't know that he was necessarily saying it in the way that it came across. But Sandoval's on such thin ice already. It's tough because there are parts of him that wants to defend himself, and there are parts that even when you have made an error, like the error that he's made, you still have the backing to explain some of the things that not cause, because you made the error for sure. But again, they all cut him off. They never let him like explain himself, and I think like him explaining himself, he's almost hanging himself as it is. So you really don't need to jump in the way that they do. And he started showcasing some of the things, and I think like honestly, what would you do? You've made the error within the cheating, but if someone's telling you, oh, because you're going to coach her, oh, and you're this, you're that. Tom has just always been this vibrant guy. He's always been the one who had a full he's just a presentable person. Presentable, is that the word? He's just a I don't know, the way I see it, it's like, I'm not trying to like Tom in this situation, but the people are not. They're messing up on this reunion. I just said the Summer House reunion was more interesting. This reunion is not that interesting. They're messing up. It's like they're not okay. This is what's happening. All the years that maybe they got a little bit of jealousy. Andy's always like Tom. They're both from St. Louis. Tom has always been because we have this in regular life too, where we have these friends that are so big and so charismatic, and really behind the scenes they're not that good of people, but no one else could really see it because just because that's the way they that's what I said, present. That's how you present yourself. But their characters doesn't stand up. So as a regular person, if you have a coworker that's like that, you would be so upset, of course. But add that to the fact that Andy always enjoyed him. He's such a schmoozer with Andy. St. Louis. Miami girl. Um, and then you add to the fact that like people you feel you don't get a favorable edit or whatever, or kind of like what I said about Kyle Richards for Housewives of Beverly Hills. Like she has never done any heavy lifting. She has not. And she gets to be continuously celebrated. So like imagine if you're on a cast with somebody like that. You're like, why is this person always getting off scot-free? And then I have to, carry the workload a little bit more. So what I'm feeling that they're showing, unfortunately, is a lot of this cast is showing years and years and years of resentment, and it's coming right into Tom through Ariana, and it doesn't feel natural. It doesn't. If you're so upset with the Ariana and Tom thing, keep it there, but it feels like there's some outside resentment that's coming through. That's the first thing I thought. Like that's the first thing I thought when this Scandival thing happened. Even Sheena, the way she's explaining it now, I don't know if she was explaining it as was she explaining it as was she saying what you've done to me, meaning the restraining order? Because if that was the case, I could see like how did we get here? But if she was just saying that you two did this to me, Sheena, unfortunately, no one did anything to you. You're and you by way of your best friend. I could see the pain, but I'm saying a lot of these people are individualizing the situation, like Tom did something to them, and it's unfortunate, but it's an entire show of cheating amongst everybody. So we can't make this somehow more elevated. The only thing is the scandal got bigger because of, Raquel being so close with Ariana, and that part is very sticky. But, I don't know. Like there is a level of like everyone on the cast does sort of need to look at themselves and say, well, we've all made our mistakes too. I guess the question is, does Tom deserve any grace? That's just a question that each individual person will have to answer. I think you could still have that element of loving Ariana, but still saying, a human deserves a little bit of grace, you know what I mean? Or, I just didn't like the idea of like, oh, Schwartz, you're lying for him, sticking up for him, this, and this. What do you want Schwartz to do? Like, he can still be very upset with his friend. He can be disgusted with his friend. He could be disgusted with Raquel, but he could still love and support Ariana and feel really bad through what she's going through because they've been together for so many years. Schwartz as the best friend, seeing that. Like, I feel like why aren't we allowing for that nuance? But again, this is a TV show. Maybe that was all said, but we don't see that in the edit. So we're just going off the edit. Other fascinating things and reasons. And I don't want to do an episode where, and we'll wrap up here. I don't want to do an episode where we talk so much about the things I don't like about other cast members, and I don't tear down Tom, because Tom definitely deserves the tear down. But also, are you this person? To me, it's a little weak sauce to kick somebody while they're down. Like, he's down, he's losing significantly. And again, as long as he doesn't fix his mouth to say something crazy, because then you excuse me. And I think Ariana had some moments like that with him, which is fine. But it's the other people that won't even let him. Like, I'll stand 10 toes down on this one. When he was tearing up, crying, and they said, "Oh, you don't deserve to cry. This, and this. It's not about you." I think what that type of conversation was that they were mad at all the other years of him getting to be looked at as this nice guy, whereas in their mind, they're like, he ain't that great. I think that's where their anger came from. I don't think their anger came from, you're not allowed to feel, because remember what he was trying to say? He was trying to say, I am glad or happy that you guys were all there for her. Isn't somebody, even if they cheated on somebody they were with for 9 years, isn't that a natural thing that you could still feel really bad, and you could still feel like, I stepped in it, I caused this problem, but I am super thankful that everyone was there to be there in this ugliness that I created. They didn't even allow that to be said, and it made them look sillier almost than him. And that's what I'm saying. It's like something is not adding up. Go watch the Summer House reunion. Way more entertaining. Danielle, Lindsay, now that is a story. Paige being the real issue. Lindsay the villain, Paige the real villain. I mean, that show is not to be slept on, in my opinion. Oh, and Summer House Martha's Vineyard also on its way up. So Bravo's doing well. They've got a lot of great shows. one comment I was going to say, I love that Ali said, yes, we are not to be making fun of people. We're not going to say fat this, fat that, because he says it all the time. And his lucky skinny ass needs to be very careful. You know what I mean? Like, you're very young. The metabolism is what it is. But a lot of people that look just like James do not look like James when they are what he seems to deem as a negative thing, 40 years old. You know what I mean? So there's a lot of mental things that James is going to have to go through because he's living in this space of he's successful, he's hot, in his opinion, and he's not fat, which is all wonderful. But a lot of those times, if you are, here's what he's missing. If you are aiming your entire existence at being better than someone else because of those things, well, what's going to happen when you're 45? And what's going to happen when you're 45 and you're still making errors? I mean, you're basically alienating yourself for the next generation to look at you like you are a loser. So just be careful with that. And by the way, when I was 22, I also thought we are the greatest things. 42 years old, still thriving, still amazing. Got a little extra weight on me, but I'm sexy as all fuck, right? It's good. I'm just saying, be careful to be too excited in that young shit, like being like your youth is your only thing. Be happy about the celebration. It sounds like I don't like James, but James is no issue. Be happy in the celebration. He bought his home, this, and this. But the problem here's been the entire problem with James. Now, it was funny because Lisa in the show said, oh, I think I hold him to a higher standard. That's why. No, you baby him to a different standard. That's what you've always done. And there's a couple other things too. Everyone comes into the situation completely different. Some maybe came in more privileged. Some maybe came in with $5 to their name. And they will also sometimes have to act accordingly in that situation, which we and I have had to do those things in my career as well. But I just feel like sometimes James could be proud and excited, but sometimes, you do got to think about like what it's great that he's getting these experiences. And I'm sure if James were to view what I was saying, he'd be like, you don't know shit. Well, this is why we're explaining it. This is why we're talking. But I think it's something to be understood from the outside looking in. We'll do it like that. That's the best way. From the outside looking in, that's great that you're successful, but a lot of people entered this business with nothing, right? And as was said on the show, George Michael is your godfather, was your godfather, the great George Michael, by the way. Oh, I miss George Michael so much. What song of George Michael's like is in your head all the time? I will be your father figure. Oof. There's just so many of them. I want to start singing, but I know how bad that will sound. But for James, there has not really been, it has not come across as a realization of some of the things that were possibly allowing him to have a little more access than the other people. Not everyone has, oh, my godfather is this, and my father worked in this industry, or my mother knew this one and this one. Like, connections are valuable. That's number one. Number two, a lot of people are moving to LA, with $1 and a dream. I've moved to New York City with $1 and a dream 3 fucking times. Nobody could do that. 3 times I've moved with $1 and a dream to New York. You know what I mean? And had to get down with the get down. You had to move. You had to do things. And when you watch those scenes, and here's what's ugly about it. When you watch those scenes early on, when James gets, and he's crying and he's crying and he's crying, there's nothing wrong with that. But what he was crying about is the lack of accountability. He got ushered into the show through other ways too. But, Lisa made, can we all agree? Lisa made, at the earlier stages, she made a lot of exceptions for James. Probably if you were to run tape, there's nobody she's made more exceptions for. Now, is that based on Lisa and knowing James's family? Is that based on James being super close at one time with Lisa's son? Whatever it is, take that, accept that. But then don't turn it around and act like you're big shit, James, when you've had all of these things that other people would have been shown the door so fucking quick. I've been shown the door so damn quick because I ain't got that structural shit to keep me in the door. So I can't act that way. You see what I'm saying? That's the difference. That's just the difference. And maybe I'm mixing a couple things up, but that's the general thing. Not everyone has some of the things that he had. You know what I mean? And beyond that, too, it's a matter of like ethics, how we do things. Some people would say that it's ambition, I guess. Other people would say that's so slimy. Like you screaming ha ha ha. I was gonna get to the show regardless through Kristen or through this one. So you're using people, and that's what we celebrate today. Is that how your dumbass generation does? I'm 42. We didn't move that way, and you could say, "Oh, we're dusty." Don't give a fuck. Don't give a fuckity fuck. Why am I so Why am I so mad? I'm not mad at all. I'm not mad at all. But you see the difference. There's a difference. There's a difference. That is that type of. I was gonna go get on the show through this one, or I was gonna get on the show through this one. Like you're using people, and we celebrate that. That's so funny to my generation, born in 1980. In the late 90s, you couldn't do that type of stuff. Every single human would laugh you out the room. If you, especially if you flaunted it. Now, if you did it, you kind of hustled a situation for yourself. Okay, kudos to you. So those are just the things that I feel like these are critical comments that aren't bad, but it sounds like James makes a lot of knocks about people's age and weight. So these are things to be like, aware of, as he won't be the youngest guy in the room. He won't be the guy with the best metabolism. Does his father have the best metabolism? You know what I mean? Like these are the things to think about. So get it while you can. That's wonderful. But look at the big picture. The constant knocking of somebody who's so young, they're going and it happens to everyone. You're going to get the biggest kick a kick in the behind when you start to realize tons of opportunities open and work for a certain younger demographic. And it's so bad because I've been through it. And my career is still going, but you go through this moment where you're like I've even said at one point, a lot of my television experiences and radio and stuff like that were very young. I one time had to actually ask myself, and see, this is all good critical stuff. This is not a knock to James. This is actually good stuff. I've had to ask myself, I was like, the first time I was on television, I was 24, national TV, IFB monitor, Fuse television, like the whole thing. But I remember as the years would go on, I'd be like 31. Oh, God damn, 35, 36. And like things don't really go for you the same way. And I remember saying, was I that talented when I was young, or was just being young what accesses you to a lot of opportunity? Because there isn't a lot. So be thankful for what you're at and knock it out the park and become wonderful and marry Allie and have your babies and have your home and be wonderful in the music producer and DJ circuit. Nothing is wrong with all that. And the one thing I'll defend James on is maybe he has a hard time with pulling back because his hatred for Tom Sandoval, because again, this is like, oh God, all I want is Raquel, my ex, to be away. And this is now she's never going to be away from this show. And I guess maybe that's where a lot of his rage comes from. But James is okay. He's got a lot of work to do. What I don't feel, me personally, it's only my opinion, who gives a care what I think, is he's not as entertaining as what people are actually saying. Like you see on Twitter and TikTok and Instagram, they're like, his one-liners are not funny. None of them are funny. He hasn't said anything funny. We're going to need him to say something funny. That's how low this show has gotten. You don't even have to be funny because the common enemy is Tom Sandoval. You just got to rip him to shreds. And the way the show is edited, that creates a moment. Doesn't mean it's funny. And I don't mind, live how you want to live, but you got to say something funny to be deemed as funny. And he's deemed as funny by a lot of people, but he's not funny. He's not funny. Lala's even worse. She's the worst of the worst. But the worst of the worst is Tom Sandoval. He made this bed. He's going to have to sleep in it with or without Raquel. And I guess we're going to see what's happening. I don't typically talk too much about Vanderpump Rules. I did one episode about it. You can go back and watch that. This is just the best of what I had. I hope it was entertaining to you. I don't regularly cover Vanderpump. I regularly cover, I was doing Housewives of Miami and Housewives of New Jersey with a wonderful co-host who actually has a show on the Peacock streaming platform, Russell Ray Silva. I think we had artwork before on it. I don't think I do anymore. the TV show was called Create the Escape on Peacock streaming. So him and I, oh, here's an old photo of us. This is when we worked at AfterBuzz with Maria Menounos several years ago. Anyways, him and I do a recap weekly on Housewives of New Jersey, and we finished Miami when it was over. And I don't know what the next one is, but that's like kind of what we talk about more. But because I watched Vanderpump and I was so excited about the finale and everything, I was like, let me pop on and say a little comment or two. Sheena and her good as gold moment was good as gold. I was so into that. Listen, it is Pride Month, so Pride, a deeper love. Pride, a deeper love. Whoa, whoa, whoa. I actually just have to do another YouTube live episode, so I'm going to get into that. Put in the comments what you think. Is Tom Sandoval done with this show? Is he scum of the earth? Try to be kind about it. Is Raquel, like, is she realizing what she actually did? Is she doubling down on like her actions and not having a lot of remorse? Is Lala even necessary at the reunion? I'd rather see Charlie. Did Allie look beautiful? Allie looks so gorgeous. Oh my gosh, she looks so good. She looks so good. Allie was wonderful. Like I said, at AfterBuzz, the outlet I just told you, we had recapped Real Housewives of New York maybe 2 seasons ago, and she was quite lovely. So I feel like she sits and fits well on this TV show, and hopefully bigger and better things for her. And I think she follows astrology. Is that like her big thing? What is it about a Virgo that makes me so me? So I'm kind of into the astrology thing. I would love to learn more about what makes me what are my Virgo isms. My Virgo birthday twins are the newly, unfortunately, late Raquel Welch, and the other one is the late Freddie Mercury. Those are my birthday twins. Those are my Virgo twins, right by Beyonce's birthday. Nonetheless, it has been fun to talk about Vanderpump Rules. Where do we think Andy stands in the situation? Is he moderating this pretty good? Is Ariana, like, I feel like I still want to know without all the distractions, because a lot of people are talking over each other. I want more just like what Ariana feels, which is seemingly what we're getting in the trailer for the next one. As it said, time is what heals, but they haven't had a lot of time just yet. And Sandoval, he's going to have to pick up the pieces. The negative side of Sandoval, because I've been sort of not necessarily defending him, but it's just, I'm not a kick someone while they're down kind of person. And at the end of the day, several people have cheated. This is not like he didn't slap a grandmother or whatever. And then Tom Schwartz. Can I just say this about Tom Schwartz? And it might be clouded for you to get this, because Tom Schwartz, to me, he he started to get lame towards the end, because I'm like, you got to have like a little bit of like you can't just be so wishy-washy. But I felt like, to a degree, this season, I'm not speaking to this reunion, but to this season, he kind of like had some moments. He kind of grew up a little bit. Oh God, what is this show going to look like next season if Jax comes back? Oh God, who wants that? Nobody wants it. I might not be watching next season, but I will be watching the final reunion, just to get the lay of the land of what Raquel has to say, what type of remorse she has, and even what's going to happen going forward. What is this a relationship to even explore? I think at the end of the day, when Andy asked the question, will you come back to the show? She says, I don't know, maybe. It's saying that ultimately, and I don't know if this happens for everyone who gets infamous, based on not, just the shit show of life, I guess. Like, it feels like Raquel and Tom Sandoval both, even despite all the negativity, like, I feel like they like this attention. Even though he yelled and said, get the camera off of me, I think they like it. That's just I feel like Tom would say that outwardly, not today, but I feel like he would be like, yeah, it was tough while all that happened, but like, a lot of good things came out of it. Because I feel like a guy like him, who's always been who he is, he's never not been this guy. He's never, we saw a lot of this stuff in the early reunions, and he'll just always find a girl to, support him. And well, it's different now. just the same way Ariana did to him when everyone felt like Kristen was being crazy, which was a tough thing because Kristen is so it's like because Kristen was so crazy, they got to pin all of the stuff on her as this crazy woman, and she's crazy regardless, but she's not crazy because of being in the situation with Tom. Tom accessed the situation with the cheating, with Ariana suddenly in the picture. And it made Krista go a little bit wild on camera. And we judged her as that. In fact, I want to tell you something as I wrap. I've loved Ariana so much throughout the seasons, but not that early, not the beginning. I didn't like her dismissal of Kristen at the very beginning. I didn't, and I'm glad they're super close now. And I feel like that might not even be because of them. It might be so Kristen could be like, I told you so. I think what a lot of this cast is doing, Jax, I told you so. Everyone's I told you so. From the 10 years or whatever it is of not liking Tom or having issues with Tom, it's all coming out in this one cheating issue with Tom and Raquel, which it's like you keep the issues focused, like keep them at what they are. It sounds like everything else is coming to play. But yeah, that early season, I wasn't all the way on board with Ariana initially. I wasn't. Because she had a little bit of a dismissal towards Kristen. And it's like, if the shoe was on the other foot, and I guess it is now, you know, well, we're she's we're seeing it on the television and she's living it. But all right, well, that wraps it up. Hold on, we got to finish the show. Let me just go through a couple of little things here. If you like the overall episode, I've been in, like I said, radio and television for so many years and years and years and years. So if you could go to the patreon.com/randomlyRJ, and if you are already on the YouTube platform, hashtag randomly with Ronnie Jr. Like I said, I've learned that there is I think it's over like close to 800 videos collectively since I've been in radio since 2002 or 3. Obviously, YouTube didn't start till 2005, but I'm saying the assemblage of content, it's a lot. So go watch some of it and go put a like and a comment and, encourage a friend to check it out. I got to go. We will talk on the next pop culture moment, whatever that may be.
Hey, Ronnie Jr.